into the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing after-shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey guys, and welcome to Attack on Bollywood? Is that what it is? Attack on Bollywood.
I see what you did there.
And guys, joining us today, John Quick and an amazing special guest, Katie Cullen. Wait a second, you're not Katie.
Who dat?
That's the voice of Annie. Lauren Landa.
Yay!
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I was wondering who was sitting next to me the entire time.
You're like,
Random chick.
you're like, she doesn't look like Katie, but her voice sounds familiar.
Did you do something different with your hair today?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Katie could have dyed her hair. I don't see her all the time.
I'm a replacement for the day.
Basically. But what a replacement. But we do miss you, Katie. Sorry, Katie couldn't be here, but she'll be here later for Story Online. But next to me, Megan Salinas.
Hey, everyone.
And guys, I'm Dave Klein. So let's go ahead and jump into the episode. And at the end, we'll go ahead and talk to Lauren about everything Attack on Titan and more.
Let's do it.
First, let's break down the episode and talk about Levi with hanging out with Eren, and actually not blaming Eren for what happened. So kind of nice for Eren. I don't know if he thought too much about it because he was still worrying about everything being his fault afterwards. But again, Levi, he outside of his initial introduction, he always comes across kinder than his face puts off. Mm-hmm. Or when he initially puts out, like even though he said the whole grip about like, oh, I'm not even talking to you, Eren, at the beginning. Afterwards, he did have the line to put Eren at ease.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he's like, who you made a judgment call. Like he just leaves it at that. Levi has seen enough of his comrades die. He knows that that's combat for good or ill. Like people are going to die, and so long as you weren't the one literally pulling the trigger, it probably wasn't your fault. It's just they rolled the dice and came up snake eyes.
There's not a lot of time to focus on a lot of other things in this show. It's mainly focusing on survival. So can't waste time with the goody two-shoes kind of, trying to make it easier on everyone kind of deal. That's where I think Levi is coming from pretty much. It's, as you said, he's seen a lot in battle. So there's not a lot of, I don't think he believes in coddling people.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's just like, look, it's just the way it is. And that's a lot of what we get in this episode, too, with Armin kind of explaining the world to Eren, and a lot of people how they explain it to him.
Right.
It's just how things are. So, speaking of Armin, Erwin ends up coming in with Armin and basically admitting to everyone, like, hey, Armin is the one who figured this out. So it was definitely 100% Armin who figured it out. And Eren not at all wanting to believe it's Annie. And we talked about that last week a little bit, that Eren doesn't want to believe it. Annie could possibly do this.
Right.
How could you do this, Lauren? How could you do this?
That's a thing I do. I just transform into Titans and kill people. That's what I do.
And then,
Well, everyone's got to have a hobby. I mean, I have to give you that.
and it's the one time you really open up and look excited and
Right?
blush and yeah.
Absolutely. The one time she gets out of her skin,
Yeah. So yeah, this is going to be the entire plot for basically the entire episode. Is Eren not wanting to believe it's Annie, or just not being able to deal with that, and the idea of like, well, how could someone that I trust do this kind of thing?
Right. One of his comrades, somebody that he fought alongside. I mean, that's, I've never been in the armed forces, but I'm assuming that you have to trust the other person with your life, other people with your life, and to find out that someone that you trusted is now the cause or could be the cause of your death. It's a little bit of a shocker, I'm sure. So
yeah, it's like your best friend's a spy, and then this is also assuming like Eren trained with Annie for a while, and
right.
He
Yeah,
probably
she threw him to
really
the ground
trusted
a couple times.
Yeah.
She did. I almost said I did. I almost took credit for that. No, that's one of my favorite epides. I love it. That's kind of her debut episode, actually, when she comes in, and that's the first impression that we get, that she's just crazy with the martial arts and all that. So
She's able to pick up Reiner and throw him to the ground.
I know, which is pretty badass. I was very impressed by that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, though, so Eren he's like, well, and that's when he finally does recognize it, though, too, is that martial arts training is like eventually, and we keep on having flashbacks throughout this episode as Eren can't transform, but eventually it is that training sequence where when his head is getting kicked off.
Yeah, you remember that one time I kicked your head off? No, I don't remember because my head
was gone. So yeah, how could I remember? I didn't have a head.
Brain damage should do that to memory.
Yeah.
No, just a bit.
But so he finally puts the pieces together and is like, oh, in anime style, I can put one image on top of the other and it's the exact same thing.
Right, animation can do that. It's actually interesting because in that episode where they're in the forest, in that very scene, it doesn't show Eren actually seeing her. It shows his expression or his reaction, like very shocked, but it doesn't show what he's shocked about, which is brilliant about the show because it's like, well, there's something that he's surprised about, but what is it? And in this episode, we finally find out, oh, you saw that a long time ago and you could have said something, but you didn't. Thanks, Eren.
Yeah, he just refused to acknowledge it. It's
Yeah.
like,
In denial.
Yeah, very
maybe
much
that's
so.
what's causing people's deaths. Maybe it's because you're refusing to tell people important information.
Come on, Eren. Come on.
You think that might be pertinent? I don't know.
Well, and
I've
Armin
literally seen
too.
only one other person use this fighting style, but nah.
It's not important.
And Armin too. Armin was sitting on the knowledge that she turned in different ODM gear for a month.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
That's
literally
true.
just sitting on that information.
Yeah. Well, not to mention the fact that, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a crazy resemblance between the two, but just a bit, you know, just a little resemblance.
Well, it's
between the
also
two of them.
the only blonde female like character we know of who can use ODM
Krista.
gear. Well, I mean, one of the only ones.
Yeah.
It could have, Krista wouldn't do that though. She's an
my
angel.
She is. That was my first reaction, though. When I first watched the show, I thought it was Krista at first.
Yeah.
I didn't think of Annie because Annie was gone. We
Yeah.
didn't see Annie for like I don't even know how many episodes, but I thought it was Krista.
I didn't think it was Annie until like literally the fight between Eren and Annie as Titans. That's why I kind of like thought like, oh, or the fighting style.
Right,
And I was
right.
like, maybe. I didn't know for sure. I was just like, maybe.
Not even then did it occur to me, and everybody is always telling me, "Oh, I knew right away." Well, good for you. I didn't.
I guessed right away, but the bad thing about that is I flip-flop. So I was like, maybe it's Annie because she's not there, but she's still prominent in the opening. And then Krista walks up and she's like, I'm so glad you're all okay. And they're like, it's totally her.
That's exactly what I thought when she appeared in the fields with the horses. I said, "Wait a second, that's way too
Super
convenient."
suspicious.
But the opening theme, the second opening theme, gives it away. When they feature Annie, that close-up of Annie, I thought to myself, why would they feature Annie in the opening theme if she didn't really mean anything to this show? And it's funny because Mike McFarlane, the voice director and the voice of John Kirstein, I love telling this story because he just I didn't realize the joke behind it. But when I got cast as Annie, he told me, because I had never seen the show, he says, well, here's the deal about Annie. She starts off as a side character, but she gets bigger later.
Literally. You're like, oh.
It didn't occur to me until later. I just thought, okay, well, she becomes a bigger deal later. That's all good. But no, literally, like she gets bigger.
She really gets bigger. She goes through puberty and then like her
Literally
hormones
and
go out of control.
metaphorically, it works on so many levels, like all of
does.
them.
Yeah.
Majorly.
Okay, that's pretty brilliant of him to say it that
Yeah,
way.
right? It's brilliant. And I tell that, I go to a lot of conventions, and every single time I tell that story, the fans just laugh so hard because they get it. They get the joke. So,
Yeah.
But you can always tell who's seen the show and who hasn't if they get the joke.
Ah.
So, you know,
Well, I didn't get it.
think about it.
I've never seen this show.
Take a second. Let it
Let it simmer.
Let it germinate. It's going. It's going.
No. Okay, so
He'll get it in about half hour.
next
It's
episode.
hilarious.
Okay, so
An hour after the show.
Yeah, Sword Art Online will be like, wait a second.
He'll just barge in, push Megan out of her chair. Guys,
I get it. I get the
yeah,
joke.
bigger.
is the
Oh!
Titan? What are you guys looking at?
Spoiler.
I just thought that she was a bigger character. There's double meanings.
Exactly.
Alright, so on the flip end though of characters, with Eren not being able to believe it at all, we have Mikasa, who's just completely like, we're doing this. I don't care.
Right.
And that's what we'd seen her last episode with, but then we see like right away she just is not having any of it. She's like, this is the way we're doing things. I don't care anymore. It's a cruel, hard world. Let's just take care of this.
Throw the rulebook out the window, pretty much. Mikasa is an awesome character. There's a scene in the episode, the previous episode, where she, there's talking between Annie and Eren and Armin, and she's just sitting there or standing there just totally silent, and then finally it's just like, okay, enough. We know you're the Titan. Come on. And it's Mikasa takes charge, man. She takes charge. And not only that, but I think Annie's threatened by her. Even in female Titan form, I think she's incredibly threatened by her, and who wouldn't be? Yeah,
well, in the forest, she actually managed to get a good few shots on her, and
she did.
Yeah, and that's when Mikasa knew nothing about her abilities. Now she's fought with her before and she survived. Now, it's again. She's there. She has to suspect Levi is there. All of the scouts now know all of her tricks, so she's in serious jeopardy.
But, and speaking of knowing the tricks, though, something I hadn't really thought of before, but one of the, I think it was one of the MPs, but as Annie's in Titan form, smashing, killing everybody, they're like, it's like she can predict what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I hadn't thought about it before. I was like, oh, maybe that would make a lot of sense that she was sent to be a spy specifically so she could understand their training and how they think and function, and then relay that information back. So she really does know every single technique they use with their ODM gear.
I agree. I think that's the great thing about this show is that there's so many theories that are not explained yet, like what's in the frickin' basement. We don't know what's in the basement yet.
But a key leads there.
A key that oh gosh, it's like the key in Men in Tights to the chastity belt. That's what it reminds me of.
And then much like Men in Tights, it ends up not working somehow.
And it's like, if I had the keys.
Go locksmith. Yeah, exactly.
Dude, you guys realize this door is wooden. Let's just kick it.
Mikasa just kicks the door open.
Right? We have the gear to do it. There's so many theories behind this show, but when it comes to Annie, I agree that from a young age, she was obviously trained for some sort of mission.
Yeah.
And I think in the manga, they haven't even gone into that yet, so we still don't know. Like, no one knows. But I definitely think that has something to do with that. She was there for a reason, there for a motive, and I think it's tragic in a way, because she probably never even had a real life, so to speak. It's kind of like a X-20. What is the?
It is X-23.
It is X-23 from X-Men, right?
Laura, is that does that the name that they give her, Laura?
Offhand, I don't remember.
Okay, I'm not sure.
Well, she basically was raised to be a copy of Wolverine, but she was raised in a lab her entire life, you know, and she didn't get to, socialize with people. She has no social skills. She doesn't know what it's like to be around regular humans. And I don't know why I think of that when I think of Annie. I mean, obviously she's been around people, but, from a young age, she was taught to know this, this is what you're born to do. And, when your destiny is already set, you can't really be too happy about that.
I mean, it's like when we saw the martial arts scene in the flashback, and you just assume, everyone came together at that specific point of training in the army, but that could have been literally her first interaction with other kids her age.
Guys, think about it. Going back to even, it's like episode 2 or 3, when they're in the bread lines in the refugee camp, you see a 9-year-old Annie.
You do.
So when Shinganshina district fell and Annie snuck in, she snuck in during that carnage as a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
She started her mission at 9. I don't even know where she came from, what kind of mindset, and where the people that sent her. What you're sending a 9-year-old in?
Right.
Like what is
by herself?
What's the thought process? Well, there's the Colossal and the Armored Titan.
Well, this is a world where a 13-year-old is an adult.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess so.
True. I guess.
It's a tragic story for Annie, I think, because especially, you can tell that she's obviously not happy with her life. There's a reason why she's emotionless, but she's also just a soldier from top to bottom, mentally, emotionally, and so, but I remember seeing Annie in the second episode. Second episode. And I didn't know if that was actually her or if the animators were just lazy and decided to make a copy. But it's too close.
I never noticed that. But I mean, what you're talking about with her emotions, though, I mean, that's definitely true because we see, the episode before this where it was all about Annie and the fact that she is really, she just wants to be a normal person.
Yeah.
She's like, it wouldn't be so bad just
to be
not being special,
ordinary.
right? To be ordinary.
Kind of reminds me of River's song, you know, for the Doctor Who fans out there. Yeah.
Is
Nice.
that? I haven't.
The River song is a character, and she always says spoilers.
Spoilers. She's a sexy woman. That's all you need to know.
So I need to find out, is what you're saying.
He was a trained assassin.
Yes.
So I also need to find out. Okay, so anyways.
She uses lipstick to, what is it? It makes the guard hallucinate.
Hallucinogenic lipstick.
Yes, it's awesome. And
What is this? What is this?
Doctor Who.
Oh, okay.
Catch up.
The 11th Doctor. We don't watch enough of it around you, Dave.
No, you obviously don't.
You mostly see Tennant and Donna Noble.
Oh,
so,
Tennant.
So John is my
Tennant.
roommate, and him and his wife, literally every time I come home, it's just Doctor Who on the TV, nonstop every day.
Can you blame them? I mean, come on.
I think the show's okay. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'll sit down and watch
I'm
it.
not caught up, but how are you liking Capaldi?
I like Capaldi. I'm not entirely caught up, same, but I think I'm like maybe 2 or 3 episodes behind. The script is all right. There are some episodes that are better than others, in my opinion. Oh God, I'm getting the dirty look.
No, he was giving me the dirty look.
Our
Like, how could you?
that a host has wandered off the subject.
That was me.
It's because we went into Doctor Who mode.
Doctor Who mode. Okay.
So we should probably go back to Attack on Titan mode.
Guys, Attack on Titan, man, what a show.
So, anyways,
So many people. We're gonna talk about
let's talk about the fact that they're all in. In this moment, though, Armin, Eren, and Mikasa are stuck underground, and then we see the reason why it might be a bad idea to hide underground, which is Annie's foot stomping
Just a
in.
bit, yeah, just a bit.
And that guy's leg was poking out of the rubble.
I love Aaron's like, we gotta dig them out.
I'm like, there's nothing left, dude.
They are all kinds of dead.
Yeah.
There's nothing left. It's like it's a dead horse. Just leave it. Unfortunately, just.
At that moment, I really wanted Armin to just go, okay, now suddenly this is happening.
So then
Yeah.
Eren, again, this is as we were having the flashbacks we were talking about, but he's having his doubts about Annie. He can't transform. And every single time to me, like, he bites into his thumb and the blood gushes out and he doesn't transform. I'm
Yeah.
like, this,
Trying so
it's literally
hard.
it's
It's
more painful to
brutal.
watch to me than like Titans biting people's heads off.
It's true because you're inflicting pain on yourself,
Yeah.
and not only that, but you're tearing through flesh with your own teeth. I mean, that's got to be.
I think you can also
little
associate that a little bit closer than having your head bitten off by a
'Cause
giant human thing.
Everybody's bitten their tongue before.
Right.
Exactly.
So like,
I've never bled when I've bitten my tongue, but I can imagine it's not really fun. But when you bite into your finger, every single time I see that scene,
Yeah.
it makes me cringe. But Annie cheated. She has like her own little diabetic thing.
Yeah, it's just like,
going on, exactly. And I saw actually a cosplayer came up to me at the last con that I was at this last weekend, or the weekend before, and she actually had a ring that had the little
nifty.
spiky thingy.
and then you said, it's okay. Just love yourself a little bit more. You don't have to be so depressed.
I know, right? Don't turn into a Titan.
I turned that into a really dark place.
Oh no.
Well, at least there's no electrical equipment on that side.
It literally shot over the side. Usually if I spill my water, it's on my papers, so I actually count that as a plus.
He's just so excited.
So we have another storyline going on here where we have Erwin and Levi, and at the meantime, while at this point they don't know anything's gone wrong, but Erwin's like, hey, things probably did go wrong. Let's all prepare for it. And all of a sudden, all the scouts just bust out their gear, and the MPs are like,
What's going on?
What are you guys
that's
doing?
what it looks like. I love the part where Jean just rips off the wig and he's like, just don't call me Jaeger. I'm not Jaeger.
Yeah.
I just thought that was so funny. But it's interesting because, Megan and I were talking about this before, how Jean is running by them and he says, oh, I can't believe I wanted to be one of them at some point. And we were also talking about how Jean is one of, I think, our favorite characters, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy for the audience to identify with him.
It is, you would think that, in that kind of society and that kind of life that you're living in, you would want to live the easy life, the cushion life, But eventually he learns that there's more to life than that you should put your life to better use than to just walk around and do nothing, So it's a perfect example of when you see the MP soldiers standing on the rooftops just not doing anything.
And these are all supposed to be the best of the best.
Exactly.
They scored the highest. These are supposed to be, the elites, and they're all in that moment useless as the garrison.
Well, even but I mean, even in that moment too, they're doing at first the wrong thing where they pull out the guns on Erwin because they think that he's just doing treachery when hey, they're trying to save the village. So.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, Niall has no idea what's happening. It's just like there are explosions and people screaming, and then suddenly this guy that's supposed to be under arrest is just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna leave now to go do stuff. And
now I'm gonna grab my gun.
Yeah, this is a time where you sit down and go, okay, here, dude, listen, 5 seconds.
Calm down.
Well, and he knows Erwin, so obviously he knows that Erwin has planned something and had.
You read No Regrets too. There was something in a conversation between Niall and Erwin that like Niall was thinking about joining the Scout Corps, but he has wife had kids and.
That gets in. It's a little bit of a spoiler.
Okay, let's not talk it then.
Well,
no.
We can talk about
Never
it,
bring up manga ever again.
It's just a tiny little thing, but it's not in No Regrets. It's actually in like volume 8 or something like that. But there's a conversation where Niall. So mild spoiler alert. Where Niall and Erwin are talking, and they graduated together.
Even though I can still hear you because you're right next to me.
They graduated together, and Niall was originally going to join the Scouts, but they were in love with the same girl. And Erwin went for the Scouts, and Niall went, yeah, no, I like her. And
you just, I'm letting you know, you've just horrified tons of fangirls right now. They are now going to be disappointed to hear that Levi and Erwin are not a thing. Just letting you know.
It was a long time ago, guys.
Things can change.
Could be a thing now. This was back in the day.
I mean, they were like 13, and then maybe they haven't gone through their experimental phase yet.
Yeah, you know, it's true. It's very true.
You can still ship it.
I thought the main
Niall
shipping was
married her.
Levi and the scout who was under him. What's her? I'm
Petra.
throwing her. Yeah, I thought Petra and Levi was the thing that everyone shipped.
Too soon.
I'm just saying, I thought that was what people like to ship. So
I mean, yeah, but I mean it's kind of.
Lauren, you would know better than I.
If we start getting into a shipping conversation, we will be here literally all day because the internet ships everything.
So true. And
Because that's what I do all day.
You ship people
That's all I do.
all day.
And I drop pictures about it.
Literally all he does.
Yep.
It's really
With
disturbing.
stick figures?
While John and his wife are watching
plus
Doctor Who,
Erwin.
I'm like, yes, this is what they would look like together.
You know, it's so funny because every single time I've done a Titan panel, fans will say, well, who do you ship? I'm sorry, but shipping is not the first thing that comes to mind with Attack on Titan, when in the first episode, Eren's mother is horribly slaughtered by a giant Titan. I'm not thinking about who looks good with who. But, I mean, it's a cute idea, you know, and I've thought about some shipping. But, yeah, whenever they ask me that, immediately my mind goes blank because that's not what I'm thinking about.
I oddly enough ship Eren Annie. I thought that could have been a
Eren Annie,
Yeah.
really?
I thought that could have been a thing.
And then one person on YouTube comments were like, how could you, John? How could you?
It's called a theory.
YouTube, the land of spoilers. That is the worst website for spoilers. And it's like not even, no warning, just, you know, comment, spoiler. Because I found out, I'm not going to say what it is, but I found out a spoiler from the manga because of YouTube comments on one of the trailers.
And Wikipedia, don't go there either.
Oh, yeah, Wikipedia. Yeah,
But if you go to Wikipedia, you're asking.
No, but
for
I wasn't.
spoilers.
But I wasn't like going to scroll down. There's like season 1, season 2 has like base information I wanted to look up, and it just said like a giant thing right in the first line. I'm like,
They're edited by people.
Imagine having to do work on a TV show or an anime show, and you have to do the research on each character. You pretty much have to spoil it for yourself, and it sucks
Yeah, I'm
sometimes
sure.
because you want to find out, but...
Well,
yeah.
I feel really bad for my little brother because before he started watching, or before he started reading the manga, he and I watched the series, and his friend had read the manga, and he's like, do you want to know who the such and such, character? And he's like, no, I don't want to know. It's this guy. And he's like, why did you tell me?
Don't you know anything? Oh my gosh, that's terrible. That's terrible.
I think what got me interested in watching the show in the first place was John telling me Eren died at some point. I was like, oh, this sounds like a cool show. So that was what got me to watch the show.
In episode 6.
But then but before as I started watching, he goes, oh, he's back to life. I was like, oh, well, all right.
By the time you started watching,
I didn't start
was on
watching
like
it.
episode 20.
Right, but when I first got me interested, though, is you being like, well, they actually killed off the main character. I'm like, this sounds like a cool show.
Well, yeah, the good way to advertise it, actually, that I've done is it's basically Game of Thrones meets Walking Dead meets some sort of like Battlestar Galactica kind of deal.
Yeah.
But mainly Game of Thrones vibe. You can't get
very
attached
much.
to anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Which is great. That's what's so great about both shows.
Yeah.
Because you actually care. Well, I mean, you care in the sense of, like, you don't know what's going to happen. It really makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So, back to the episode, though. Eren cannot get anything to work. Stomping is going on all over the place, and he's buried in a pile of rubble, and Jean and Armin are trying to talk with him, get him to transform into a Titan, because he still can't do it. And as that's happening, we have finally Erwin. I guess I don't think we saw it happen, but at least some of his people were able to get out. So we have
Hange.
Hange, yeah.
Hange was hanging out.
Hange's hanging out. Has all the traps ready to go. Shoots down Annie, and as they are gloating over Annie. That's when Annie just busts out of the trap.
You know what? It's Hange's fault, though, man. She shouldn't have taken that 5 minutes to gloat and to get into Annie's eye, pretty much, literally into her face.
How
with
cool
evil
was
devil
that
eyes.
Scene when Annie's eye just like the pupil just shrinks.
Oh yeah, because I think that's what happens when you feel terror or when you feel panic or something. I think your pupils dilate or something. I'm not sure. It's a natural response, but Hange with her crazed look, you know.
That was worth it. Just those frames of animation with Hange with I don't even know what the hell that face is. God, it was glorious. It was like, wow.
Yeah, that's why you're like, oh, that's why everyone's afraid of Hange.
Yeah. Because she's crazy, but it's for the love of science, you know?
Yeah.
And I love it. I love how her comrade is just like, you've got that look in your eye. I'm worried. I'm scared.
And the eyes are just darting back and forth, like within her goggles.
I can't wait to get this to, so I'd be terrified, personally.
Ms. Zoe, please stop that.
You're freaking me out.
But sadly, this does not work for them. So afterwards, as Annie's wrecking more havoc, literally smashing people by their strings into walls, we have Eren remembering his mom, and that's what ends up finally sending him off again and transforming into a Titan and decking Annie into a church.
Yeah.
Hopefully a church of the wall.
It is the wall church.
Yes, it is. But that's the terrifying part, is that it's a full walled church that she still breaks through it. And what I find kind of heartbreaking and also interesting at the same time is, Armin has this whole speech with Eren about how you have to give up your humanity pretty much to become that monster, to become that Titan form. And what's creepy is that, he uses Annie as an example. Look at Annie, look what she did it. And she's completely calm. She is calm. She's a silent killer. And yet when Eren transforms into a Titan, oh my God, he goes ballistic. It's insane. He truly becomes animalistic.
But maybe that's scary more so to what does that mean about Annie?
Yeah.
That, like, what's she thinking generally if that's so easy for her to become that?
Exactly.
As you said, the silent killer.
That's what's scary about it is we don't know we don't know what's going on in her brain, and we don't know what she had to go through to leave behind her humanity. We have no idea.
Well, and she still still does have a lot of her humanity left. Like, she let Armin live in the first place.
Yeah.
And at the end of that arc, when they retrieve Eren, we see the female Titan crying.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and that's another reason why I think that it's just not the life that she wanted. It's not the life that she wanted, but it was the life that she was given without a choice, pretty much. So
yeah, but I imagine maybe it's just to initially turn into the Titan, you have to go into that sort of mode. Because I mean, it's also like you see before Annie turns into a Titan, she's in the most insane version we've ever seen her, and then she transforms. So maybe once you're in the Titan mode, there's a way to control and tone it down. But maybe it's just that initial transformation. Yeah,
and I think what is it? I think Mike McFarlane and I were talking about how the entire show she's held everything in. She's been emotionless. She's been just hasn't shown any emotion whatsoever. And then finally in last week's episode, she goes Joker on them, which is like, this is the real me, and it's like, oh, I don't like the real you. Okay,
I liked you before. for when you were this?
When you were just this. Oh, the episode in episode 4, I think it is, where she totally like beats Eren and Reiner. I love when Reiner just totally gives her crap, and it just shows a shot of her face, and it's just like, oh my god, she's pissed. So I love it.
And the episode kind of wraps up at this point, but since we do have you, Annie, Lauren Landa here, taking us behind the veil of Annie.
Veil of Annie.
As I'm assuming you know more. So I'm sure you get this a lot, but when you first got Annie, I know you've said that this was a character you loved getting, and can you talk about what about her character you really enjoy?
Well, you know, most of the characters that I play in, whether it be anime or video games, most of them are on the more sexy spectrum, or younger, younger girls, younger boys, or just really enthusiastic young ladies or whatever. Annie was different because I don't usually play those type of characters that are very stoic and very emotionless and just don't show any, very monotone and all of that. I've never really get to play those type of characters. And when I was first cast in Titan, I had never seen it. I had no idea what it was about. All I had heard was that it was an anime. It was a really good anime show. And I don't get to watch that much anime anymore because I work so much in it, and same with video games. Oh my gosh, I miss video games so much. But so when I was cast in it, I had no idea what it was about, and so I went to we recorded it in Dallas, Texas at Funimation, and when I came back, I marathoned the whole thing in about 3 days.
Yeah.
And I just remember immediately being hooked on the first episode. And then as it continued on, and when we find out what happens with Annie, I was tickled pink over the entire show because I honestly did think, well, okay, well, she's an awesome side character. I don't care. I'm happy to be a part of the show. She's a badass. And then she disappears. And then I figured, okay, well, maybe she won't be back till like the last episode. Whatever. Nope, I was wrong. So it's definitely just different from what I usually play, which is what I love about her.
Well, everyone we've talked to so far has auditioned for 3 roles, or at least, actually we had 4 last week, but for the most part it's always 3 roles. Who else did you audition for? Or who did you even audition for Annie?
I did, actually.
Yeah.
I auditioned for Annie. I auditioned for Mikasa. I auditioned for Armin, actually, because Armin was originally played by a Japanese actress, and we decided to go with a male actor for the English dub, Josh Greeley, who is amazing as Armin. I also auditioned for Hange.
Okay.
Krista, Sasha.
Wow.
Wait, so you did a lot more than 3.
I did, yeah. I pretty much auditioned for all of the ladies. Well, not all of them. I'm not sure who. I know there's others that I'm leaving. Oh, I don't think I auditioned for Petra, actually. So, but I think a lot of the girls that are in the first couple of episodes, I think, mainly, except for Hange. But yeah, so I was happy to get Annie. I wasn't expecting to get Annie. So, yeah.
Well, you said earlier that you don't know what's going on in Annie's head the entire time that makes her this dispassionate. But when you were in that booth, reading her lines, what was in your mind that was these are Annie's thoughts?
I tried to put myself in a really pissed off place. I tried to tell myself, okay, think of something that really annoys you right now, and that, and in episode 4 when they want to, spar with her, this is a waste of her time. She just wants to walk around and not have to deal with these guys because she's much more advanced than they are. So I tried to think of a scenario where someone has really just irritated me, and I'm not in the mood to talk, you know?
Spoilers on YouTube,
exactly.
for example.
Spoilers on YouTube. Let's use that as an example. I'm watching a Titan trailer. I think it was for box set 2, and I'm just scrolling through the comments to see what everybody says. I don't know why. It's a curse, but I'm watching it. I'm reading it. And then all of a sudden it does those spoilers, and I just remember just being like, oh my God, you guys, really? So when I was recording as Annie, it was very weird for me because I'm usually a very warm, enthusiastic person, total opposite of Annie. However, we all have those days where just don't talk to me, just don't, not today. And so I tried to put myself in that mindset of where there are days where I just, I'm not in a good mood, and we all need our alone time. So definitely it's probably what was going through my head, just imagining one of those days where just everything was just going wrong and everything was just irritating me. And not only that, but people wasting my time, you know?
Yeah.
So that's something that really irritates me is that, you know, when people are just wasting my, like you guys, wasting my time. So.
I'm gonna start more water. So we do have to wrap up, but before we do, what else, or is there anything you can actually say that's coming up in projects that you're going to be in? That's always the question with voice actors, especially. Like, what can you say?
Freaking NDAs, man. I don't know if I can talk about anything that's going to come out, but I know that I can talk about that I am in the new One Piece movie, Film Z.
Wow, nice.
I play, I think it's pronounced Ein. Pretty sure Ain or Ein. She is the right-hand woman of the main villain in the movie. So it's awesome. I haven't seen it yet, but I had a blast recording for it, and I believe I'm trying to remember who. I think. Nope, brain fart. Either way, I'm pretty sure that's the most recent thing I can talk about. Also, a new Square Enix game, Drakengard 3.
Oh, nice.
I play one in that. She's as far as I remember, or I can tell, she is the boss at the end, like the big boss at the end, which is an honor to play. That was a lot of screaming. I had so much fun with that project. But as for stuff that's coming out,
I know Smash Brothers 4 just came out and it's coming out.
Oh my gosh,
You're
yes,
Robin,
Smash Brothers, yes, female Robin, and it's so funny because I've only signed I think about 4 of those games.
Yeah.
But the moment that it came out, everybody started texting me, is this you? Is this what? I'm hearing your voice. I've been beating you up all day, or something like that. So, yeah, Super Smash Brothers
I know
is definitely.
what I'm gonna go home and do.
He's gonna beat me up.
Or I'll play as Robin and be like, yeah. All right, well, that does wrap us up, and we gotta head out. But final episode next week, so sad. And at least season 2 is announced, so we've got that coming up.
2015?
I think, yeah, I believe so, 2015. So thank you guys so much for joining. Once again, I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @TheDaveKlein. That's Klein.
And I'm Megan. You can follow me on Twitter at @TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. Don't forget to go to iTunes, rate, leave a comment, 5 stars.
10 stars.
10 stars.
10 stars.
10 stars. All 10.
10 out of 5.
And I'm John Quick. You can find me on Twitter at @NowQuick and on the Legend of Korra panel coming up at 6 p.m. today.
Nice. And I'm Lauren Landa. Thank you guys so much for having me. I'll see you guys at conventions.
Where can people find you?
I actually don't have any public pages.
We can find you at conventions.
Conventions.
All right, thank you guys.
Do that in person.
In person.
But you can follow Katie at Kia J on Twitter.
And we will see you guys
And
next week.
Tumblr.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.